Water is life. Water is sacred. These are the words of the grassroots people in Grassy Narrows, Ontario, who have fought long and hard over 50 years of mercury being poured into the English Wabigoon River by a paper mill in Dryden, Ontario. On March 1st, 2018, Queen's Park has come up with some new information that the NDP is questioning the Liberals. This is Amanda Perot reporting from Net News Ledger.
Member from Algoma-Manitoulin.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Premier. 4 years ago, the former Chief of Grassy Narrows First Nation, Elder Steve Fobister, took the extreme and desperate steps of going on a hunger strike to draw attention to the historic and ongoing poisoning from mercury of his community in nearby Wabaseemoong First Nation. At that time, the Minister and now Indigenous Relations committed to former Chief Fobister that action to change the badly broken system of compensation for the victims of mercury would follow. The federal government took thousands of samples of hair and blood from hundreds of members of these communities between 1970 and 2000, and only now, after a fight, are these community members gaining access to their own samples. My question is this: what has the Minister done to honour his commitment to Chief Fobister to fix the broken compensation system and create a mercury treatment home?
Thank you.
Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you. Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Well, thank you, Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for that very important question. Speaker, we're really concerned by the many challenges facing Grassy Narrows and the Wabaseemoong First Nation. Our government is committed to working with First Nations to clean up the English Wabigoon River system and to achieve real progress that will create a prosperous, healthy and strong communities. Back in December, Speaker, we passed legislation that will provide $85 million in dedicated funding for the remediation of the English and Wabigoon rivers, and we're doing that with the active participation of a number of Indigenous communities, Speaker, in an open and transparent way. We are sharing the data, we are inviting people to be on site, and we are listening to the needs and the concerns of those communities.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Again, to the Premier, the community has had to fight, the community has had to scrap, and even have their youth thrown out of this very building, threatened to starve themselves to get recognition, and are still waiting for action from this Liberal government. My question again to the Premier: what will your government do to ensure that every member of these communities receive compensation for the intergenerational harm done to their health, livelihood, for the exposure to mercury?
Thank you. Minister.
To the Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation.
Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation.
Speaker, there have been a number of actions taken to address this problem. I take you back to February 17. That's when we committed to Grassy Narrows First Nation and Wabaseemoong, or White Dog, and the federal government to explore options to reform the Mercury Disability Board. Subsequent to that, in February and April, the four parties, the federal government, the two First Nations, and Ontario, met in April. As a result of that meeting, there was a further meeting in October where my ministry received a letter from White Dog indicating their concerns about Mercury Disability Board reform process. As a result of that letter, I met with Minister Philpott and the leadership of Grassy Narrows and White Dog to discuss this issue further. As a result of that, we met in December again, the four parties. Various written submissions were provided.
Answer.
And as late as January 18, we've met with the representatives again. We are making progress on that. All of the parties are making their best efforts to resolve this.